Welcome to No Budget, the show for filmmakers with no budget by filmmakers with no budget. Will you agree with our panel or will they agree with each other? Tune in to find out. I am Milo Dennison, and with me, as always, is Claire Milan.
Hello.
And Cathal Feeney.
Hello.
We're just admiring a Cahill's haircut there before we came on screen. He went to imagine a Cahill paid 60 quid for his haircut. It's just ridiculous. And Milo, you were saying you paid about £35.
36.
Yeah, 36. God, I went to a really, really cool hairdresser just up the road here. So I'm really proud of myself. So we all got our haircut since the last No Budget.
Yeah, Cathal.
I'm getting into the character of her.
Yes. He's method reviewing, it's called.
Yeah. So in the spirit of the holiday, we are watching Sickness, or I should say A Sickness, by Guy Soulsby. Yeah, he wrote and directed it. It stars a guy by the name of David Langham, who plays Stephen, who the film basically just follows Stephen through his day. And it's shot in a way to create suspense, kind of this creepy feeling, these sounds. You kind of really hear the sound of everything he's doing. So you definitely know it's going to be leading up to this tension throughout the film. And we do get a couple glimpses of that as he looks at a door that's locked. And then we actually go downstairs and see what he has downstairs in the basement of his house. And then it goes back to him living his life and just doing these little things around his home. And it opens actually with him burning stuff in a fire. So there's that aspect as well. It's hard with horror films to describe them too much without giving them away. So I'll just read the description on IMDb. Stephen lives a solitary life, a loner, a man who keeps himself to himself and is governed by routine and order. All things have their place, and for good reason, as a dark secret lurks beneath his feet. So that's pretty much the description. It's a thriller, or I should say it's supposed to be a horror. For me, it did feel like it was a bit too much leading up with not enough payoff, but I would be interested to hear what my co-hosts think.
Yeah, I just saying to Milo before he came on, he knows this already. I hate horror films, though I was a big fan of the X Factor or the X Files. I'm X Factor, but yeah, I remember it's the only time I ever walked out on the cinema. Just after the opening credits was a horror film. I was too nervous. You know?
What was the film?
It was not Possession, but kind of one of those kind of possession-y films. I forget the name of it. But it was really like I just couldn't handle it, so I had to walk out. But yeah, so when you sent us this, I was really nervous, and I watched it earlier. But it wasn't. Luckily, it wasn't like Saw or anything like that. So yeah, and especially I find with horror films, it's the anticipation of it which makes it worse. You know, and it's always like just the whole setup was really good. I thought even the camera, the cinematography, and the fact he's on his own, he lives on his own, and he has kind of, it looks like he has kind of OCD or some sort of ritual thing, the way he eats and the way he just goes about his days. So you're kind of anticipating what's going to happen, which I thought was set up really well. And the sound actually, someone's made a complaint underneath on YouTube where the sound was too high. It was too loud. But I thought it really worked. With the alarm clock, it kind of jolts you a little bit. Because I think with this type of film, you have to have the sound kind of heightened in order to create the atmosphere. And I thought it set up very well. The cinematography was done very, very well. And even the acting by the lead actor really, really worked. But I thought the payoff, it left me a little bit unsatisfied. After all going through the film, it was just a little bit unsatisfying. So I wish there was something, we can't obviously reveal it here, but it's just, I just left it thinking, oh, that was it. You know, I just wish there's more to it. But again, it's a short film, so it's kind of tricky sometimes to make. Sometimes these type of narratives work in short films. But yeah, that was the only thing. But other than that, that creates the atmosphere, and my heart was pounding when I was watching it.
Well, I'm sure I've said this every time we've reviewed a horror film, that I'm not a huge fan of horror films, and I mean I do get scared. Let's face it, and I don't like it. I don't like that sensation of feeling, and I don't like the way they manipulate your emotions. But there's a certain formula. They're kind of formulaic in a way, and this follows that formula. So you sort of you build up the tension, you kind of create a creepy atmosphere, and they do use music very well. That was one of the things I was going to make too, and there's something it's something you're waiting for something to happen all the time, and then it might happen, and then it doesn't, and then you go around the corner and something like that, and they're waiting for the payoff, and I've said this before as well. I'd say that the problem with short horror films is you don't really get to invest in the characters. That okay, well, okay, it's revealed early on in the film, right? So there's somebody else. There's somebody else in this film, right? This person in the basement, and but you don't care about them because like you don't know who they are. Like you don't know their story. You don't know where their family. You don't know who their parents are. You don't know brothers, sisters, anything like that. So they're complete unknowns. In some ways, it's like a I don't know, a train crash in Japan or something like that. You kind of go, oh my god, you say to yourself it's terrible. You know it's terrible, but you don't necessarily feel it because you don't know these people. But if it was a train crash in Kildare in Ireland, you go, oh, Jeannie Mac, that's terrible, that's awful. So I think you really have to know the people. So you're missing that. You're missing that sort of. Yeah, it is. It's almost like the last film we watched. The same kind of thing, bit of creepy atmosphere, and then this sort of. And
So I think that's why the X-Files works so well, because even though you get a real sense of the character, like I think they usually had a kind of a pre log, what's it called, beforehand. They kind of set up the mysterious character, and that kind of freaks you out. And then Mulder and Scully, because you know them and you're fighting for them, and then they develop the whole world so well. And then usually in the X-Files, the person is still there, or there's an element of that around, and that freaks you out more because they're still out there. Do you know? So that's because I think they were hour-long episodes, and it's just similar episodes were in this, but because it's short, it doesn't have. Carl said, doesn't have. You don't feel for the character because you don't know their backstory. Not as much because compared to a feature, or I know an episode in a series like the X-Files or something.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, they had the time to show us a little bit more about the character in the basement, because the film's 9 minutes long and it's 8 minutes of leading up to the end. It's basically 8 minutes of this guy going through his day. And I know that's the point, to kind of show that routine, and so you get that creepy vibe from him with the sound effects and the music and that kind of stuff. But they could have taken a little bit more of that and focused on the relationship between him and the person in the basement, so that maybe you would have potentially started to feel something for that character, so that way when the end happens, it's more interesting. And it's hard to say too, because I didn't find the way it ended all that believable either, in regards to what the twist was.
Is he burning his own clothes to start? Looks like a tie.
No, he's burning the person in the basement's clothes.
Oh, because it looked like a tie, didn't it? Like a man's tie, like his own work tie.
It's a school student tie.
Ah,
like you're a student.
Okay, because I thought it was.
I know. I just gave something away about the person. Sorry,
like you can bleep that out or something.
That's all right.
But I thought it was his work clothes. He's burning. So that was kind of like, oh, he's burning his work clothes. He must have killed someone, or he must have done something. So that kind of, for me, that was my thought.
Yeah, they had nice little subtle things in there too, like when he was working with the stuff on his table, his little lab there. You could hear the TV that was playing, and it was playing the news that was talking about the missing person and stuff.
Yeah, and there was aspects of it that made you think there's more to this story than meets the eye. Even with the person in the basement who used to have a tie. That, like, it's, for instance, the way he looked at the door. It was something not right about that. I kind of wondered, was this going to be one of those films where I got to the end of it and sort of said, what the hell was that about? And there is almost an aspect of that. By the way, talking about the alarm, I used to have an alarm like that.
It would frighten you.
Beep, beep, beep. Oh my God. You'd jump out of bed. Like an air raid.
It was interesting that when the alarm went off, he got up in bed and he's sitting there and the alarm's still going off for a minute, because in real life, the first thing you do is lean over and shut
Yeah,
the alarm off.
yeah.
So that was an interesting choice that they had him actually sit there with the alarm going off for a
And
little
you
bit.
think if there was someone in the basement, you would switch it off in case you disturbed them.
Mm.
But anyway,
But that alarm was really good because it does annoy you.
It annoys you,
does
yeah.
affect you. So, like, that's as a film, you are like emotionally, it does get to you. You know, just turn that bloody alarm off.
I think there was a ticking clock, wasn't there, as well? I think there was a tick, tick, tick. I think there was. So I remember staying at my friend's house and she had a ticking clock. It used to drive me crackers. So I used to get up in the middle of the night and sit in her house and take out the batteries. That was just, I couldn't handle it.
So it was. I mean, it was very well structured. It was very well made. Like, it was, yeah, the use of the cinematography and the sound and everything like that. Yeah, I can't fault for that. So the one complaint would be, they could have made this longer. Really, I think a good short horror film has to be at least 15 or 20 minutes long.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that, Carl, because and usually we're saying the opposite. This should be shorter, but for this, it could be longer. I think it could. You could have it at 15 minutes because it was set up so well. It just needed an extra 5 minutes, and you would stay with it. You know, I would anyway. Even
The
though I hate
extra
horror films, you know.
building the
Yeah.
relationship between him and the person in the basement and get to know that one a little bit more. Yeah, it's true. It's really hard to make a short horror film. Credit for trying, I guess. All right, ratings.
Okay, so for me, it was very well set up. I like the world that he wrote and enveloped, and the lead actor was really good. The payoff let it down, and it should have been longer. So for me, it's 3.5 stars.
I think I've more said everything I can say about it as well. So I don't have much of a summary. It kind of follows the usual trope of the horror genre, but it was done. It was probably done very better than I think the last one we watched, particularly with the use of music, sound and stuff. So I will give it 3.5. I was only going to give it 3, but since we've been talking outside, I'll bump it up that extra half.
Yeah, I thought it was really well shot, really well acted. Sound was good, but I didn't much care for the payoff at the end. And it was, yeah, it was okay. It was okay. So I'm going to go 3 stars. So. Well, there you have it. No budget audience. So we're kind of right in the middle on this film. Of course, we'll throw a link down there so you can watch it and let us know what you think in a comment or reaching out to us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at No Budget Show. That's where you can contact us. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to leave a comment and let us know, or a review, and share it with your friends. And with that, we will say stay tuned to see what we're watching next week. Bye.
Bye.
But